Hi everyone, this is Ariana Golden with Internet Medicine, and we're talking to Suman today about his Steth IO device that he designed for turning an iPhone into a stethoscope. So, would you like to introduce yourself a little bit?
Sure. I'm Suman Mulumudi, the CEO of StratoScientific, and I've also invented the Steth IO, which, as you mentioned, is a device that turns a smartphone into a stethoscope. Additionally, I'm also a freshman in high school in the Seattle area, and I attend the Lakeside School in Seattle.
Okay. So, what gave you the idea for this device?
Both my parents are doctors, and so having that sort of exposure, I hear a lot and see a lot about how the whole medical examination process works. And modern medicine being so data driven, it's always important to have devices and have technologies for which we can collect data in order to analyze them for the purpose of medicine. The stethoscope is such a common tool. To me, it seemed rather odd, if you will, that the tool has not yet reached what you'd expect to see in the 21st century. Namely, there isn't yet a large usage of data with the stethoscope. The current analog stethoscope doesn't record anything, and it doesn't allow you to visualize those heart sounds. In seeing that and seeing that shortcoming, I realized that that was really what needed to happen. The next step, I believe, in the evolution of the stethoscope is really bringing it into the 21st century so that it can use data to help empower the medical field to give a more accurate and comprehensive diagnosis.
Okay. So, how exactly does a stethoscope work? So, what parts are you keeping the same, and what parts are you changing and everything?
Yeah, so the stethoscope itself is actually quite simple. It's really the diaphragm of the stethoscope, which is placed against the chest of the patient, and then there's a tube that basically that connects a cone from behind the diaphragm to the ear, and that's all it really is. And actually, the Steth IO works in a very similar fashion. All we've really done is taken the tubing and replaced its endpoint, replaced the ear, if you will, with the microphone of the smartphone. And by doing that, we basically allow the smartphone to, if you will, listen to the stethoscope, and then it allows you to visualize the data, record, save, so on and so forth.
Cool. So, how did you go about developing your prototype? And do you want to show us a little bit about where everything is and how it attaches to a phone and stuff?
Absolutely. So the prototype itself, a lot of the development happened with 3D printing. So utilizing 3D printing technologies to be able to quickly build these devices. The device itself looks. Let me show you. This is the device itself, and it may be a little bit difficult to see due to the washing out from the light. But what basically happens is you have a diaphragm here, and then underneath, inside this case, is a tube, and that tube actually mates with the microphone of the smartphone,
Mhm.
right there. And so all it is a case that you slip the phone into, and by doing so, you allow the usage of the microphone of the phone to listen to the heart sounds collected by the diaphragm.
Mhm.
Now, to give a quick demo of the device, just so you can see it in operation, right now we're using a third-party software.
Cool.
And as you can see, you can get some very clear heart sounds here.
Yeah.
So this is really the power of the device, which is that you can use the device to be able to visualize this heart sound, so you can see what would otherwise be very difficult to hear and identify with just the ear. And being able to do
Mhm.
so means that you can reduce the number of echocardiograms done from false positives, as well as
Mhm.
avoid missing anything, which can result in complications later on.
Right. So, do you have, I guess, a vision for this to be used primarily in hospitals, or do you think it could become a standard at-home, device where, say, if you have a weak heart, you check your heart rhythm like once or twice a day as like a baseline?
I think it's can be used in both places, and I think we really see it as a company. be a huge potential in both those places. In the professional medical area, that being hospitals and clinics, it has a large
Mhm.
potential to be used in the regular checkup process. So
Mhm.
the physician or the nurse can use the stethoscope to be able to get a very good idea about the characteristics of those heart sounds. And so, as I was showing you earlier, that visualization can really help them gain a better idea of what they're looking at. Additionally,
Mhm.
being able to record the heart sounds and store them in the EMR means that they also can make comparisons over time. So they can look at how a heart sound has changed over 6 months or a year in order to look at how
Mhm.
the actual condition has been developing. We also believe it
Yeah.
has a huge potential to be used at home. In a home setting, for at-risk patients, this device can be used especially in looking for S3s or the third heart sound. If you hear an S3, it's possible that the patient may be going under a cardiac failure, basically. And the S3 can be a good indicator of this months in advance of any large episodes. So if you can
Mhm.
use S3 and identify, especially at home, where if the doctor's office you may do a visit every 6 months, at home you could be looking at it for once every week or two, and even that much has the potential to be able to identify the condition earlier, therefore intensify treatment earlier, and then reduce the overall chance of hospitalization. So we believe that
Mhm.
that's the potential both in the professional field as well as in the homes of the patient.
Okay. So, what are your next steps, I guess? What sort of FDA type approval do you think you will need to go through before utilizing this?
So the device itself would be underneath what's called the Class 2 FDA approval. And basically
Mhm.
what we end up doing is we submit a document saying that our stethoscope is similar to, X, Y, and Z stethoscopes already on the market. And that's the
Mhm.
extent of the approval that we're going to need. How long that's going to take, we really can't say. We're hoping to be able to finish it up within a few months upon us being ready. We definitely believe there's still some work to be done in fine-tuning the stethoscope and really making it so that it's a very usable, very practical tool. And we believe
Mhm.
we've gone quite far, but we still also believe there's a ways to go. So we're hoping to have the device available, at least for medical professionals, within about a year. And
Okay.
then forward from that, we hope to be able to add some diagnostic capabilities farther out in the future.
Okay. So, um, I guess pretty far along in getting this going. Do you have any sort of idea for, I guess this is maybe on the software side, but for being able to essentially do personalized medicine? So you go in for your checkup, or you do it yourself at home to get like a baseline for your normal heart rhythms. And then if you get ill or something, to check to see how that's different on a per patient basis.
Yeah, so I think as we develop our diagnostic software, so we're working on using artificial intelligence and some of these neural networks, things like that, to be able to do some heart sound identification. In that process, I think we are actually actively evaluating the potential of using a personalized system versus a generalized system. So whether or not we want to be able to, whether or not it's best to compare your own heart sounds to yourself over time, or to compare your heart sounds to the general populace. I think that's something that we're still looking into from a scientific perspective. So I don't think that we yet have enough information to really be able to say which one of those methods would be better.
Mhm. Okay. Um, so I guess how how much would you expect this device to cost once you get through all of the manufacturing and like approval and everything?
Yeah, we really hope to keep the device within the average price of a stethoscope. So it's really hard to pin down a price this early on, just because there are a lot of the details you have to work out, especially in the field of
Mhm.
manufacturing. So how do we choose to manufacture it? is going to make a huge difference. That
Mhm.
being said, we do hope to be able to keep it not only at a reasonable price, but if you look at current digital stethoscopes, they can cost anywhere between $300 and $500. And for us, we think that price is really prohibitive to bringing the digital stethoscope into the general market. And so we're hoping to bring the price down to the point at which it can be the price is comparable, if not less than the price of a Lippmann stethoscope, for example.
Mhm. So I guess that's all of my specific questions that I had. Thank you so much for sharing your device with us. It's really cool. I hope you get through FDA approval so that it can start being used. I think there's a lot of potential for it.
Thank you.
And good luck with everything.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right.